Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to go over our daily technical analysis of gold and silver, do our updates here. I'm going to go over the dollar, the 10-year yield, just like we normally do, and go over the precious metals, and then into the individual companies and ETFs. Again, guys, I don't trade in and out of these stocks. I am in it. I'm in it to win it. I take this pretty serious. The short-term stuff's a lot harder to read than the big picture stuff. And the big picture stuff is what the fundamentals is driving in these charts. The fundamentals are driving the technicals. And the technicals are driving, I wouldn't say that in reverse. The fundamentals are driving the technicals. And what we're seeing today is we're seeing a lower dollar and a lower 10-year yield. And gold, for some reason, loves this because it's a greater real negative rate with dollar weakness. So people pile into gold under these conditions. What I'm saying will come in the future, and it's going to have to take this separation, is lower dollar, a little bit stronger yields. And that's going to rotate money out of bonds and stocks eventually. You might see a first hit in the beginning when people are confused because it's going to be a different paradigm shift or view on the way that people view gold and silver. So as long as inflation stays strong, which means weaker dollar, I think it'll be okay eventually for the interest rates to go on up. And that really starts to flood money into different assets. So we'll jump in here. I'll give you my financial opinion. Please don't use it as advice. But here we go. This is the dollar I have behind me. And what I like to do is I like to look at this from a little bit bigger picture view. This is a big picture view here. And we drew it from 2011, which is the bottom. The dollar was strengthening all the way till about 2020. This was the recovery phase of real estate in this cycle right here. And what happened is we broke to the downside in 2020. The dollar did. It's coming up to do a retest move, just like we've always gotten on those retest moves, and then we're gonna roll back over, is my guess. And it looks like we're rolling over right now, coming into some pressure, and we can see this drop down quite substantially, hopefully. And when we see that, it's going to be a tailwind for our precious metals investments. The 10-year yield's been bouncing back and forth, kind of just chopping sideways. I think eventually this is going to head its way up. What this is an inverted head and shoulders. And this has the 10-year yield going up has implications to our investments. What it does is it forces people out of technology companies where a whole bunch of money's at. It also is going to put pressure on bonds. And bonds will start to rotate money out of that if the rates go up. And I don't know what's going to hold it down, but naturally they're going to want to go up. So looking at gold today, we had lower rates and lower dollar, and gold loves that. It's like an orgy for it. And what we've got is a 15.3% or $15.3 up day today. I keep wanting to say percent, and sometimes I say that wrong. 15.3 bucks up in gold. To me, this looks strong. So what we did is we squeezed up into this corner here. We had a blowout, but the buyers stepped in and bought it back up and created a hammer pattern. That's where I had all that hammer pattern talk, which means the momentum's going to the upside, and then we're blowing to the upside, and we could potentially break this pattern here to the upside at hopefully any second. The pattern is complete. We've got a 1, 2, and then a third hump, and usually that breaks to the upside shortly thereafter. So not that I'm projecting that this is just going to blow right through, but I can tell you this. It looks strong, it ended strong, and the momentum's to the upside. We have a good chance of breaking this pattern here in the very short term. And what that means is all of that buying that everyone wasn't doing and they were selling and I was buying their shares is going to pay off. Because I think we're going to break and do a next leg higher potentially very soon, if the momentum continues. And the reason I don't talk in absolutes, guys, this is only probabilities. It's in the short term. Anything can happen in the short term. So I know a lot of people they may say I'm wishy-washy when I talk about this, and it's on purpose because it's only probabilities. I'm never going to let you guys, I'm never going to say this will go up. This is a 100% for sure bet. I will never say that because these are only probabilities. The market conditions are changing in favor of gold. The dollar is getting a little bit weaker. We need that to continue to see a large move up. And we usually see that in a real estate expansionary phase, a weaker dollar usually occurs. And then everyone, with the rates going up, everyone's going to pile into these things like mad. And what I'm trying to do is give everyone a leg up on this channel and say, look, we've got the pattern. It's ready to break to the upside. You should be looking now. And you should have some sort of forewarning before something happens. And this looks like it's ready to break to the upside. And silver's looking really strong. 26 cents. I know it may only seem like a percent or two, but this is how it starts. What happens is you get a sell-off, you get a reversal candlestick like this big hammer pattern here. It starts coming up, and what you notice, if you were to focus in on this section here, big up days, small down days, big up days, small down days. You see that cycling pattern? Before that, we had large down days, small up days. What that is signaling is that the buyers are now in control, and it changed on December of 15th, where this changed, and we got smaller down days and big up days. So it's changing, and the buyers are in control. And if they stay in control and the momentum continues up, you're going to say, what the heck just happened? We blew through all this and blew to the upside. Platinum, we had a big, strong buying pressure day back in 22nd of December, and we've been just chopping sideways. We're digesting those gains, and hopefully we can move on up just like the rest of the PM group. XAU to gold. Looks like gold outperformed XAU, and sometimes this happens. But the pattern is still down here, and we're just chopping sideways. That's where we're at. This is a very good value down here. Now looking at some of the individual companies. We're hugging the upper end of Karora Resources, so that one looks good. Just looking at the dailies, we are kind of squeezing up a little bit to the top here in a little squeezy, as I like to call it, and it could spill out and dump down a little bit before moving up. Whenever you contract upward and it's pointed upward like this, sometimes they like to spill out a little bit. EXK, again, not really much to say here. We've got a struggle. It's a battle of buyers and sellers is what I see. Because we got this big, strong sell-off here, and then we got a couple of buyers coming in, and it's going back and forth. So no clear direction there. This is SILJ. Again, we've broken the downtrend here. We're kind of just popping sideways. GDX, I would say same thing. We've completed the pattern of 3 humps, and usually this is the time that you want to see it move on up. We do have big buying pressure and small selling pressure, so it looks good at this moment to try to break this little pattern to the upside. Metallic minerals, it is on the top. It's just fiddling around, moving sideways here. This would be a good low risk spot, I think, to add a little bit if you want a high risk silver exploration play. That's what you're looking for. Discovery Silver, this is another one that has a lot of torque or leverage to the price of silver. This is one that I'm heavily invested in. Big buying pressure, small selling pressure, everything still looks good to hopefully move on up. AG is another one that I think is a very good bet. Massive pattern here. We've got the 3 humps. Actually, third is actually this guy there. What happens? You get 1 hump, you get a 3rd hump that does like this move here. This is in the 3rd, and hopefully we can get a move higher. Now, if you're patient and you guys can wait a little bit, I mean, we're in the pattern. It's decent, and when we break, it's going to be a big move. It's probably going to go to 30 or 40 bucks. So that's the pattern. That's the setup. You just have to be patient, and eventually it'll break. Newmont's got a massive pattern. Looks very good on the monthly candlestick. Very strong closing there. On the weeklies, looks very strong on the weeklies. And then on the daily candlesticks, it's looking okay. Still looks really good. We broke out of this little resistance line at about 59.50 or so. Looks really good on a big picture view. This thing is putting in a monster pattern. And we just need to break it to the upside and move on to the promised land. Mag Silver's at the top of its pattern. It's just been dangling back and forth. Probably not a bad spot to look at it. if you want to purchase some. Up to you. Yamana Gold, it's still in its pattern. It's trying to break to the upside. We have a hammer pattern on the monthly candlestick. The weeklies, we're moving up into it, and on the dailies, we're right below the top end of this pattern. Looks good to me. Impact Silver, we've got support underneath it. It's just bouncing sideways. Aftermath Silver, again, this getting a little bit of a sell-off today. I mean, it could head a little bit lower, so kind of more of a bearish engulfing pattern, but it's been bouncing sideways. It is in a risky jurisdiction, and some people don't like that. Here's Arcana. Arcana Silver, someone wanted me to talk about this. Again, there's a lot of momentum here. This could bounce around a little bit longer. The way I would play it is, if you like it, Arcana Silver, the company itself, I would cost average in very slowly. Looking at the big picture view, this could come all the way back down and even test back here if this momentum can't be stopped. It's a lot of momentum behind it. So I'm pretty slow to jump into these things. And PLG's been selling off a bit today. Let's go to the dailies. The dailies, we're breaking out to the downside. This could see more downside, guys. This is a majority palladium company as well, and it does carry a lot of risk. This is a developer company. Looking at the royalty companies, here's Sandstorm Gold. I like this one a lot. Looking at the daily candlesticks, we're just at that support area. Franco-Nevada is probably one of my favorite. It's got a lot of royalties in the commodities, and it's put in this massive pattern here. Hopefully we can break to the upside eventually. It's going to take some time. EMX is another company I own. I'm getting a little bit of buying pressure today. It is kind of like still in this downtrend type movement. Teuton Resources has been moving, chopping sideways quite violently. You know, maybe you can pick up shares at $1.50, throw in a $1.50 thing, see if it fills, something like that, and you know, hope for the best. Hopefully this thing can hold on and doesn't drop down. Market conditions look good for higher gold and silver prices. Wheat and precious metals, again, we're in this pattern here. We do have a big down day here with 3 small upticks, which means we could end up heading down a little bit within this pattern. We could just kind of cycle back and forth a little bit longer before breaking the upside. Maybe. Remember, this is all only probabilities. This isn't for sure outcomes. Gold royalty, nice. Looks like let's go to the daily here. That's a bullish engulfing pattern. Hopefully we can start getting some momentum to the upside. I do own a good chunk in that. Metalla Royalty, we're at the bottom of this resistance support line, and we're right on it. Mavericks Metals just moving sideways. Looking at this guy here, strong selling pressure. We're probably going to bounce it out to the sideways for a little bit. Need gold support to move on higher. Royal Gold, I mean, you can kind of look here. We're trying to break out of this little downtrend, which we're doing. Coming on up, so that looks decent. And this is the big picture view. We're still coiling up here. May take another year of coiling before this thing really breaks and moves. But when we break these big patterns, guys, these big squeeze up patterns, you know, it's going to be big. You know, Cisco Gold Royalty, another one that's squeezing up. Nice, good up day today. But we're squeezing up into this corner here. And eventually you're going to see a break. It's probably going to break to the upside. So you're either in or you're out at that point, because it's probably going to break and run. And I like picking my shares before they break these big patterns. So that's what I see in the oil, in the gold and silver complex. The ones I like the most are probably the royalty companies, just because you have no input cost risk, and you've got a direct play with volume and price. And that's exactly how I want to play this. I want to play volume and price. I don't want the input costs. So I'm heavily skewed to the royalty companies, very heavily. I have a very few miners. They're all mainly silver miners, very little money in them in comparison to how much I have in the royalty companies and big diversified mining companies. I do have big money in some mutual funds that are diversified across a bunch of gold mining companies. I have a good amount there. So that's what I've got for the update. Give me a thumbs up if you guys like this update. Subscribe to the channel if you want to get these daily updates. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.